G'day viewers, my name is Michael and welcome back to SingleRacer. And now I have to say that as excited as I am to show you these brand new two F1 cars from RSS or Sim Racing Studio, I've also got to say I'm a bit peed off at a few of these videos that have been popping up lately, and let me show you some of them here. But they're not in relation to sim racing directly, but more VR, and they come under the banner of, as you can see here, is VR dying? What's happening to VR? Or is VR gaming already dead? But the one that peed me off personally the most was probably because it's one of my favourite tech channels, under the banner of Linus Tech Tips and his TechQuickie videos. And it's the heading that you can see here, Why Virtual Reality is Struggling. But now let me say, just for the record, if you watch his video or some of the other videos, the topics they bring up, or the main points that they bring up, especially the Linus Tech Tips video, is totally valid. But the thing that upsets me is actually that they're taking it from a mass market general gaming point of view. And now we all probably know, of course, how much money is in console gaming as an example. But I think why I got so upset with Linus Tech Tips video was because as a tech presenter on YouTube, there was no, or appeared to be no support from the point of view that you could argue that VR could exist, but as a niche kind of market. And so I want to bring the thought process of sim racing into that discussion about that maybe VR won't ever be a true mass market kind of product. And now what I mean by mass market product is there's the term that I just can't think the name of, but it's essentially comes under a similar name to market share. And the principle is that when a product like the old VHS player or a DVD player or even now a Blu-ray player becomes encapsulated into 70 to 80% of all homes, and you know, that's a mass market product. And so herein lies my reason for these two videos and how I want to bring these two cars into this particular discussion. And that's because I can't argue with any of the facts that Linus Tech Tips presented. He was accurate, informative, and you know, so from that point of view I can't disagree. But what I can disagree with is based on that principle of mass market. If VR can exist as a niche product, then what I felt Linus Tech Tips was saying in a very, very loose, indirect way was saying, well, Fanatec will never succeed, or Logitech, or Thrustmaster, all these wheel makers, you know, quality products or button boxes or anything that you consider for sim racing that is truly a niche product. I mean, although sim racing is growing exponentially, which is fantastic, you'd still call it a niche hobby. I don't think you would ever call it a Blu-ray style 70 to 80% of all people sim race. And that is my theory. So my argument is, if we readjusted our thinking to say, could VR succeed, or the companies that make VR succeed by understanding they're selling a niche product to true diehards, and they can be successful, then is Linus Tech Tips and all the other channels that say VR is dying, are they also saying then Fanatec is dying, or Logitech is dying, or Thrustmaster is dying? Because they're probably just as niche products as VR is. And if I take the argument as someone that isn't rolling in money, and I say, well, sure, you need an expensive computer to play VR or to buy VR, you have to you have to have a good computer to buy VR to make it run, and you also need a good computer to make the VR that you see in your headset run high enough that you don't feel motion sick. But then I go, well, hang on, how much is a high-end Fanatec going to cost me? Maybe $1,200, maybe even as cheap as $999, something like that. Well, a VR headset is only $600, and I need a powerful computer to run a high-end, good quality racing game anyway, unless I go back to a game that's 5 years old or 5 generations old. So the argument to me doesn't stack up. It's a niche product, which I've always accepted it as, but hoping as a VR fanboy that it can succeed generally on a more mass market level. And the only way to do that truly, as we all understand, I think, is to have things like high-end companies like Valve make great shooter games and great racing games for VR, and then it will truly take off. Because at the moment, I agree with the main principle that it's the chicken and the egg. The VR needs to succeed by having great games, but the companies don't want to make the great games because there's not enough VR headsets out there, and you know, it's just that continually chicken and egg cycle that is holding it back. But my thinking is that even if they could succeed by being a niche product, then I can tell you I won't go back to 2D racing unless I'm forced to. I will buy VR or a VR headset as long as it's available. And this is also an important point, and that is that I'm under no false illusions that the companies, even including sim racing companies, need to get behind it. Now, for example, I got a couple of vouchers for Christmas and I turned them into a Steam voucher all ready to pre-order Dirt Rally 2, only to find out that Dirt Rally 2 won't actually have VR support. I'm staggered because the previous one does, even though it was an add-on later on. But you would think surely coming out of a brand new product, it would automatically have VR support, but it doesn't. And according to, those in charge, well, we'll see what the demand's like and whether there's enough people interested. I mean, come on, this is a brand new 2019 game. And I can hear all the voices now. No VR, no buy, including me. Sorry, Mike Smith, but including me until there's VR support. Now, I could go on forever with this rant and apologies, but I'll sum it up by saying that maybe that's what VR needs. It needs to just simply refocus and say, can companies succeed as a niche product in the same way when you think about it? I mean, let's think about companies that make button boxes or the load cells that you buy specially for your brake. I mean, these are companies that must be making a profit to keep going. So maybe we just need to rethink where VR should be. And why am I bringing this into the discussion of these two classic F1 cars? I think because the reason that I want to keep using a VR headset as long as I can buy one is because of, we always talk, us VR users always talk about how immersive it is. But where it really hits home for me is that when you're racing something like a GT3 and at the moment there's 5 games that I can think of immediately that have VR support, and cars like your GT3s or your road cars, they're quite common across all the games. But to drive these two classic Formula 1 cars, so one is a 1979 car, the Formula 79 that you can see here, and the other one is the Ferrari V10 from the year 2000. And to actually drive these in VR where I feel that I'm in the car itself is indescribable. I mean, it's just beyond joy. It's just the greatest experience I think you can have in VR, but given our love for sim racing. And so on that point, that final point, I want to sum this up by saying, let's go on track now with these two cars, but not only these two cars, that the joy it brings of sim racing, and not only the joy, but the VR joy, but specifically how VR can make me feel like I'm driving this 1979 classic Formula One car, that I could never have that experience anywhere else. So let's go on track now and have a much closer look at it. So this is Michael signing out for SingleRacer. I'll catch you next time. See you later, and let's go hot lapping. Okay folks, so here I am on the classic version of Monza, known as Monza 66 road course. Absolutely brilliant track, and let's check out this car now from the outside. Here it is here, the amazing Race Sim Studio, or RSS Formula 79. Now I downloaded this because it was on special with the other car that I want to feature in the next video, the absolutely superb Ferrari V10 2000. Just a brilliant car. But just a quick clarification, because I always like to hear back the audio just for any major mistakes that I might have made. And I do make a lot of mistakes. But I didn't like the way I made it sound like Dirt Rally 2 without VR wasn't worth buying. All I meant that is, if you take the other two very well-known channels, so that's Alex over at the Extra Mile and Mike Smith at Sim Racing 604, their personal choice when they buy, say, gear for the sim racing is that Alex might buy wheel set A, and Mike Smith might buy pedal set B, and I might buy a wheel and pedal set C that's a combination of a different company. And that's just personal choice. So if we go into the car now, the reason that I say that I don't want to buy Dirt Rally 2 is because I like that feeling of looking around the car, and the appeal to me is feeling like I can lean over the car and that I'm really in the car. And so, just as a clarification, one of the games I want to buy is Wreckfest. Well, Wreckfest doesn't have VR support either, but it's the type of game that to me suits non-VR use and would probably make you sick anyway, being a destruction derby type game. So all I meant was Dirt Rally 2 for me, not having VR is a major put down, and so that's the reason I wouldn't buy it, not because I'm saying it's like a bad game or anything like that. So just for clarification's sake. But let's now have a closer look at this particular car around its features. And so if we go here to the front wheel and suspension setup and look at that amazing intake there to cool the brakes down, quite a lot of detail, just superb. RSS do some of the best cars, and their GT pack is still one of my favourites, but I reckon that Ferrari V10 2000 is probably car of the year for me for 2018 and maybe even 2019, as it's still available now in this new year. And here we have the incredible radiators, one on each side there, just amazing. And if we look around the back here for the engine in the back, here we have the V8, the classic V8 with the trumpets there. And again, one thing that I like in VR is how I can get the perception of how see-through those grates are that sit over the engine. You know, there's nothing like VR to have a close look, and I'll see if I can get the exhaust pipe. Can I get the exhaust, the fuel intake, or that little lever there? Quite amazing. I'm just getting out of the range now, unfortunately. But as we go back in, there's the fuel tank there. The amazing features of this car. So if we go now to the outside of the car, and as we go to the back of the car now, look at that amazing silhouette of the car. And if I lean down just far enough, you might be able to get to see the flames coming out of, there it is, out of the back of the exhaust there. Just incredible. What a tremendous silhouette, and what a fantastic car it is. So there's nothing more to do than take it around a few laps of the Monza 66 road course. So let's do that right now. Okay folks, so let's do a couple of flying laps of the Monza 1966 road course. And one of the first things that struck me was how much engine torque braking this thing has. The engine braking is quite incredible, and I couldn't get over how much it slowed you down. Unexpectedly almost. This is my favourite ghost car. So here we go. No slowing down here. Just amazing grip. This thing's at an absolute peak here. Use the engine braking again, down the third. I don't need second in this car. Oh, and look at that, I don't even have to slow down, just amazing. The engine braking was quite a surprise. As soon as you take your foot off the throttle, it slows down quite dramatically, as I'll show you here. And we try for a real flying lap now. You run it really deep. There we go. Oh, hang on to it. Hang on to it. Absolutely amazing. Let's run her out a bit wide here. Got a bit of speed up on the ghost car, hopefully, so yep, we're up. So let's see if we can hold this speed nice and gentle. There's my 240 wheel rotation, just have to slightly turn the wheel. I'll let the engine braking slow me down quite a bit here. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Hold it, hold it. No braking at all, look at that. That's just amazing. Oh, and I forgot to change gears. flat through here. Let's see if I can outbrake it. Run out a bit wider. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Here we go. That's it. Will I catch it? I think I will. I think I will. World record. There you go, folks. So if you feel like chasing that and you own this car, or well, I guess you need to make sure you own this car, of course, but there we go, a world record. I'll take that. Now mind you, there's probably only a couple of people, so it's no big deal, but if you own the car and you like this track, feel like giving it a go. So this is Michael signing out for SingleRacer. I'll catch you next time in the next video, and see you later.